This story for me perfectly encapsulates basically whole Joe Biden's mission of trying to run for president is all about his self-interest and this whole personal project for Joe Biden, and this story just confirms that. The Biden campaign pushed Iowa staffers to drive in dangerous weather. Leaked messages show staffers worrying about their safety in Iowa's icy roads by Ken Klippenstein, formerly, I believe, of TYT Investigates. With the pivotal Iowa caucuses coming up on February 3rd, Biden campaign staffers have had at least one concern besides the election: their own safety. That's not good. On December 30th, with Iowa sheathed in snow, the campaign's regional director for Iowa, Kay Glad, instructed staffers that its inclement weather policy was being suspended, according to staff text messages reviewed by the Nation. The policy had allowed them to avoid driving during potentially hazardous weather conditions, but at that busy time it was being called off. So think about that for a sec. The Biden campaign, because they're starting to trail off, lose support in Iowa, went back on their campaign's inclement weather policy, which told, campaign staffers, don't drive if it's dangerous because we don't want you to go out and kill yourself, to knock on doors or whatever, because, the roads are icy and it's snowing, it's just bad weather. So they changed that in order to try to get Joe Biden elected. So they're willing to put risk, their volunteered and their paid staffers' lives in order to improve Joe Biden's chances of becoming the Democratic nominee. That's Joe Biden's candidacy in a nutshell. Hey guys, all weather policy is dissolved throughout the entire state because we have 5 weeks left until the election, Kay Glad, Biden's regional organizing director for Iowa, informed staffers. Quote, if it feels like unsafe driving conditions, then talk to me separately. But quite frankly, I don't want to hear any complaints because you know how important this is and how much time we have left. So again, the Biden campaign is willing to put, Joe Biden's election campaign above the personal safety and lives of the human beings that worked or volunteered for them. That's just sick and disgusting. And what do you know? Joe Biden is one of the only, or is one of the few Democrats that isn't campaigns staff that isn't organized. And what do you know? They're backtracked on their inclement weather policy and were willing to put their staffers in harm in order to increase Joe's chances of getting elected. And that's just sick. Glad added, by showing an ability to be adaptable, flexible, and willing to do what you've been hired to do, then that is the most basic threshold of demonstrating your ability of leadership, of leading others. Every single day is an audition for post Iowa. So basically saying these people need to be willing to get themselves killed if they, want any type of position or job within a Biden administration. That's, again, they're trying to leverage, future jobs in a potential Biden administration as a justification for people risking their lives to increase the chance of Joe Biden getting elected. Just disgusting. And then you add this on the cherry on top of this disgusting Joe Biden pie or cake. Glad's admonition carries with it a sad irony. In 1972, both Biden's then wife and daughter died in a fatal car accident when a truck broadsided them while they were shopping for a Christmas tree. He has frequently referenced the tragedy in public as well as during this campaign. So, could this story get any worse for Joe Biden and his campaign, for God's sakes? His daughter and wife were killed in a car crash in 72, and then now his 2020 presidential campaign was retracting their inclement weather policies and basically telling people to go out and risk their lives if they want to potentially work in the Joe Biden administration. That just shows, literally all Joe Biden cares about is getting elected, no matter, the price he has to pay, or how corrupt or immoral the decisions that he has to make or supports. It's just nuts. The text messages were provided to the nation by a Biden staffer on the condition of anonymity since they're not authorized to speak. The staffers also said there have been at least 5 different car accidents among the campaign's Iowa staffers between Christmas and New Year's Day alone. Citing a recent car accident that resulted in the death of a Warren campaign volunteer, the staffer described other campaign workers as fearful of another potential accident. Just that makes it even worse, honestly. And, Biden didn't authorize this, didn't support this, then the Biden campaign staffer who sent out that email, probably should be off the Biden campaign, or needs to sit down with that person, talk with them, let them know that's not an okay policy that they support. People's lives are more important than getting Joe Biden elected, for God's sakes. But it's super, super disgusting. Okay, responding to a request for comment, a Biden campaign official confirmed that GLAAD had suspended the weather policy, but said she had acted unilaterally and was subsequently reprimanded, and her team was given proper guidance. Okay, so that's better, I guess, but who knows to say if that's true necessarily. And given the things that Joe Biden has said and done in the past, I wouldn't be surprised if it came from higher up than this GLAAD individual acting, on their own. And again, the Biden campaign is one of the only ones that isn't unionized. And then they go into spin mode here with the Biden campaign. The Nation also contacted Sanders, Buttigieg, Warren, and Klobuchar campaign to ask of the inclement weather policies to protect staffers. Klobuchar is the only one who responded by the time the story went out. And this is their response. Extreme weather conditions have previously resulted in the campaign having staffers work from home. When inclement weather causes hazardous conditions, we make it a point for members of the campaign to consider personal safety first, then when evaluating their ability to report to work. Let's see. Yeah, then it talks about just the poor working conditions of staffers, sometimes having to work up to the expectation of 14 to 16-hour workdays. 4 hours of sleep is pretty common, this former organizer for Obama said. Despite these conditions, presidential campaigns have only just begun to unionize. In May of 2019, Bernie Sanders became the first presidential campaign staff in U.S. history to unionize and is now represented by United Food and Commercial Workers Local 400. In a similar unprecedented turn, several campaigns followed, including that of Warren and Buttigieg. Both are represented by the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers 2320, and Booker and Klobuchar are represented by the Teamsters Local 328. Jess Case, the labor representative for the Iowa campaign workers, did not respond to a request for comment. Shortly after the Nation contacted Case, the Biden campaign issued an email to staff reiterating the original inclement weather policy, which is now again in effect. And can you really think of something like this happening under a Bernie Sanders, from one of Bernie Sanders' campaign staff, field organizers? I just don't see it happening. So, not surprised that this is coming from Joe Biden's campaign, and again, his campaign workers aren't unionized. Bernie's are, Buttigieg's are, for God's sakes, Warren's are, and Klobuchar's, but not Biden. But he's supposedly six pack working Joe Biden, friends of the working man, but his campaign's not. unionized, and then he had campaign staff that were telling people to put their lives online in order to get Joe Biden elected. So sad, disappointing, but not not surprising in the least. What are your thoughts on this story? Peace, much love.